Hello YouTubers, this is the noobifier. It's been quite some time. I've been gone for a little bit. 2 weeks specifically. For those who support and rely on the content to stay up to date, I will get caught up with all of the regular content very soon. Hopefully you will agree that the delay had a great reason. Let me tell you why. Before I retired, my wife and I were two parts of a service couple, and we were also often part of the same brigade. We were often more focused on the job than ourselves. Vacation time for us was often that time that made more sense to focus on the job. We don't have kids, and we didn't have kids. We would therefore often choose later leave slots to let others spend time with their kids at the right time. And often we would just spend time at home, never actually going anywhere new. 20 years married this year, so we needed to do something special. Friends had spoken about how much they love to cruise. We've never been on a cruise, so we inquired, some plans were discussed, and we had set a date. Still several months away, and despite being very excited for that trip, I never really gave it much more thought. We would travel in February, and we've all seen those people on the news, the airport nightmares where travelers miss their destinations, snowed in as winter hits. Having a flight canceled is one thing, and very shitty. Let me tell you, we know from experience because of our return flight. But missing a cruise because of that shitty flight is even worse. So we had a plan. Friends of the family were at Universal Studios for the week before our cruise, so my wife left early to be there in Orlando. I also wanted to be closer for the cruise, so I called up a longtime friend and Star Citizen org mate, Andy. Known as Radar Ranger in game, Andy is the person who created the app My Radar. Some of you citizens probably know him already. My Radar is that company who first launched the SC logo into actual space on an actual CubeSat. And for a long time, you could explore the various planets and moons in Star Citizen on the My Radar app, like you would see in something like Google Earth. There were plans to let you share your current location with orgmates through the app, but the game must have expanded too much and these plans have gone by the wayside. So I asked Andy if I could visit, and he said yes. Spending time in his company is always super. She left home on the 18th and I left on the 20th, giving us lots of time to make it to port on time for boarding. On the 24th, we got a rental from Orlando and drove to the port of Fort Lauderdale. A great drive down the express highway. The airport and the cruise port are basically at the same place, so after some security, we were welcomed to the celebrity Ascent. 140,000 tons of ship, and it was launched late in 2020-23. So it's a brand new ship, a modern monster, and the flagship for celebrity cruises. I didn't find out until later, but my wife secretly boosted us up to a concierge level for the week, and it really showed. For our first cruise, you can imagine we wanted at least a window, but my wife also scored some major points on the choice of that stateroom. Full bathroom, standing shower, small couch, desk, large closet, lots of drawers, and lots of room below the bed for bags. King-size bed with the best sheets like you'd find in a 5-star hotel, and a set of frosted sliding glass doors before a balcony with 2 chairs and a floor-to-ceiling glass window. And the best part of all of that proved to be a pair of buttons on the left side wall. One would raise or lower a shade covering the entire glass panel, which is good for blacking out the sun if you really need to nap, but the other one was even better. It lowered the entire top half glass, becoming a full balcony. And for something that seems so simple, it actually turned out to be a really cool machine. That glass closed, ending with a suction noise that some of us sci-fi fans might know. That airlock sealing when it's closed, you know, the it was really neat, and it was as if someone had activated some kind of noise canceling for the room. I don't mean for this video to become some kind of crazy cruise review. I thought some extra details are important for this story, and obviously, I'm a Star Citizen content creator. I do joysticks and video games, right? This is not normal. This is just a one-shot. So we dropped off our bags on the dock before embarking, 4 minutes at most of paper checking, and we were shown to our muster zone. We dropped off our backpacks in the room and then immediately went exploring. The very top decks from the front to rear are basically laid out as follows. All of the luxury stuff that's part of the retreat is at the front and at the top. Retreat has its own set of decks, pools, restaurants, and they're just like a higher tier of service. Deck 17 and 16 exclusively at the front. And we may have accidentally ended up in this section very early on. Being new to cruises, initially we both looked around and commented how very nice it all seemed without actually realizing that this was a VIP card accessed area. It was more quiet, it had beautiful shaded loungers, and it would be the perfect place to relax. We're planning to cruise again next year with my parents, and we're pretty sure that we're going to opt in for the retreat tier level service. Moving towards the aft is the main dining hall, You have a main pool deck with 3 levels of lounging, and there's a winding running track. 3 laps is 1 kilometer, 5 laps is 1 mile. The track became pretty useless during the day because people were using it, with their scooters and stuff to get around. But before 7 a.m., no problem. There was a steady stream of runners. Behind that, there was a covered spa area, which is basically like a second pool with loungers, but it's indoors and it has some nice music. The garden is a dry area behind that, and that has covered tables and outdoor seating. This was also the outdoor movie theater that had this massive outdoor OLED screen, and they had some pretty new movies, running regularly. And even during the day, you could see no problem in the direct sunlight. The screen was actually crazy. There was a little tennis court at the aft and a giant bar overlooking the stern. There were 2 reservation-only restaurants. There were 2 restaurants that were for retreat passengers only, and then there were 4 restaurants for everyone else, and then the main buffet area. There was always some kind of food available 24/7, but dinner was served daily in those 4 restaurants for all of the sea days. The food was always hot, and we never got the impression that dinner was mass-produced. Really fantastic steaks cooked perfectly depending on where you dined, pasta, lamb, fish. The 4 main restaurants are basically the same food with slight variations to suit the 4 themes. The martini bar is below the pool and near the bottom. It's cut out of a 4-floor section of the ship, so decks above can look down and experience the mood. It's central and the largest space within the ship. There is Raw on 5, a 24-hour-day cookie bar with coffee. The theater at the front is also 4 stories high with a state-of-the-art curved screen and a stage for live shows. There are stores and casinos, and I never really understood the appeal of paying that much to go on a boat so that you could go pay a slot machine or buy stuff that you can buy anywhere else, but whatever, right? There were other places such as the Eden Bar and Restaurant, and that's at the very back, and this has a panoramic window looking aft. There was a comedy club with a small arcade, 2-story gym facility, and I'm going to stop there because I could go on forever. The ship is very big, and I didn't even get through all of it, and I would like to get back on track. So the first evening, we cracked the window of our hybrid deck and went to sleep. We were a little bit worried that the sound and motion would keep us up. That didn't happen. With the glass closed, you do hear nothing, but with the glass open, you get to enjoy the sound of the waves crashing. It was so cool. Day 2 was sea day all the way to Puerto Rico, coffee in the balcony. The seabirds were skimming the water, hunting for fish, and I never considered that would happen so far away from land because I'm not nautical. It was super cool to see. The pool area was packed with a lot of activity. It was very important to get there early and mark your loungers for the day if that's where you wanted to be. My wife had just survived 5 days at Universal amusement parks, and she just wanted to read a book. I was somewhat determined for a more first-hand look at the VIP retreat. I really do understand the idea of paying more and getting more, and I will say that I was successful in that better first-hand look. My time spent there floating in their tiny exclusive pool had confirmed for me that this is the perfect way to spend time with my parents. So the next time we're definitely going to spend the extra. We changed for dinner, ate, and then enjoyed the balcony in our room before going to bed. Day 3 was the first port day in San Juan, Puerto Rico. We decided to just go out on our own, no excursion packages or anything like that, just walking, right? The ship did provide a map. On it, there were forts, museums, and of course, Casablanca. These were all closed, right? Because it was Wednesday or something. But we did check everything off the map that we went to go see. We found a cafe close to the dock, ate lunch with some aggressive pigeons. Back to the boat 2 hours before anchor up, and the main pool on top of the ship was completely deserted. We had a solid hour of the pool to ourselves. The hot tubs were also completely free, and it felt as if we had $1 billion ship to ourselves. Honestly, it was so nice. Bed and up for coffee. We had ported very early in the British Virgin Islands, or BVI for short. Looking out the window and looking at the map, you could tell the roads did switchbacks all the way up and down the volcano. All of the good stuff that we wanted to see required a drive, so we got an open air tour truck. $25 per person, 2 ways. Really good. I've never heard a truck work so hard. 15 minutes in first gear, basically bouncing off the rev limiter. The turbo was at max boost for the entire time. With the climb done, the motor was then once again set to 110% revs in low gear for compression, and the brakes were basically on fire after 2/3 of the way down the hill. You just can't get that smell of burning brakes out of your face, right? We got situated with loungers and umbrellas into the water, white sands, great music, and of course, a beautiful view. We were there just long enough that we could get away without missing the ship. The return drive was even funnier because the driver decided to narrate over a bunch of points of interest such as the house that his brother was born in, the house that his best friend is currently living in, the elementary school that he went to and was subsequently kicked out of, etc. I guess things just move a little bit differently on the island. Normally, sea and airports are no-fly zones for drones, and I had a micro drone with me, specifically a Mini 4. These are less than 250 grams, and based on some research the night before, I was pretty sure that I was greenlit for flight. You just remain below 100 feet and fly only into the bay and stay away from the ship. I was setting up and a port police walked by and simply said, "No fly." I asked the police politely if they were the authority for the port, and they said no, and I asked who was, and they said port control. And then I asked them to show me. We were like 20 meters away, and I went up some stairs. Port Authority was super helpful. They took scans of my passport, my driver's license, they took pictures of the drone. They confirmed that I shouldn't be taking any pervy pictures into any staterooms. They confirmed for me not over 100 feet. They also told me that I couldn't fly over the port, over people, or over the ships, or over the shops. And all of that, if you know your drones, is standard anyways. They wanted to make sure that I didn't work for someone like CNN, and after they saw the tiny drone, I had a blue and red stamp on my drone permit. And my advice to everyone is don't fuck around with things like this when you're abroad. It's not worth taking risks because if you do, you're going to find out and you're going to miss your boat and you're probably going to be detained in a foreign country. So, drone correctly with the correct permissions to ensure that other drone pilots don't get a bad reputation. Back on the ship, after a day with some great footage, shower, fresh clothes, fancy supper, back balcony bar with friends, and then bed as the ship sailed for St. Kitts. Day 5, we were docked in port, 7:30 in the morning local. There was a general push by the guests to get ashore. My wife and I had both booked a 3-hour excursion on a scenic train, but that didn't start until noon. So after a bit of breakfast, we also went ashore. If you've ever been to a place like this, you're going to know all these towns are the same. They're specifically designed to get you jewelry, t-shirts, sundresses, sandals, luxury watches, fast food, trips, and booze. Tangent confirmed, I've had an Omega Speedmaster day date for over 15 years. It's been my daily since I got it, and this includes all of my time deployed, which is kind of weird. I needed to check in on the Omega dealer to see what was up. Along with the regular awesome timepieces, there was a green-faced gold Speedmaster. There was the regular discussion that began, and I just wanted to get a closer look of it. I knew I didn't have $40,000 for a watch. I got to see it, and because it was so pretty outside, we left. One day, I'm sure I'll be back to buy that watch. The scenic train tour began by a bus drive at noon. We were broken down into little groups to stand next to the miniature-looking track. None of this track was level, not even the part that was at the station. This was about to be some kind of crazy ride. It was super funny to watch everyone from 8 to 88 tossed around like ragdolls for the entire trip. We sat upstairs in the open next to the rum, and being up there even magnified the effect worse. We were offered several rum and cokes as part of our hour-long plus trip. These were rum, and coke with rum. And I think that was an attempt to medicate or sedate the passengers just a little bit. My wife actually thought that the server just wanted to be super generous, and these were delicious. The train was fun and funny. It used to move cane sugar, and the track was over 36 miles long. At absolute best speed, we may have hit 10 miles an hour. Any more than that, there would be broken hips, motion sickness, or we would have just derailed and fallen off a cliff. The conductor really had some balls though, because he was pushing through some sections of track pretty hard. It was nice that he slowed down for all those sketchy bridges who I'm sure get inspected twice yearly. More rum, more fun, more scenery, and a little bit more history from our tour guide. At the end, back on the bus, back on the boat, just in time, and tonight would not be a standard supper. Le Petit Chef is an interactive multi-course dinner that my wife booked a couple weeks in advance. When you arrive, being dressed well is not an option. You're greeted to an Alice in Wonderland kind of experience, and everyone thinks it's just for kids, and it's not. It was actually really good. Each table has a book, and that book is lit from the ceiling with a beam of light. You have the wine, and then you wait with your great company that you arrived with for the show to start. You're asked to open the book, and then you're shown some lines to help you guide the book into the best position. The animations are made to force perspective, so when seated, looking down, there was a holographic depth to what you were looking at. Each part of the story explained and assembled the next part of your meal. Pretty ingenious. At the end of segment 1, on cue, the staff replaced the animated food with the real deal, and then everything went normal and you could eat. So we had leek soup, fish steak, tenderloin, and dessert. About 90 minutes, and it was a super fun experience. We went to bed and I was up at 3 a.m. to shoot some B-roll. I wanted to see the ship at night, and despite being so late, activity was everywhere. The kitchen was preparing for the next day, the tables are being washed down, carpets are being vacuumed, room service woke us up at 7 that morning with fresh coffee. Today and tomorrow are both sea days on our way back to Florida. We spent some more time in the Eden bar doing trivia at the rear. Great view, all the glass, right? Eden is the 4 levels at the rear, all glass with a garden theme. We were only able to get 9 out of the 20 questions, so we didn't get a prize. But the rest of the day was spent sitting by the pool, in the pool, sitting on our balcony. Dinner that night was also at Eden, and this is also reserved, a very special dinner with the best view. And I can't do the meal or the service justice with words, so I won't even bother to try. Just say, yeah, it's really fantastic. After supper, we had a date in the theater. The entire stage has a wraparound OLED screen that shifts and splits open. The show was called Bridges, and I didn't bother to film it because I just wanted to enjoy it. Singing, dancing, and acrobatics. All of it was really well done. It was a great time, and we walked around the top deck, shower, robes on the balcony, bed. Up after 8 for breakfast. Today was the last day at sea. Scheduled in the theater, there was a very unusual opportunity. 2 brothers captained this ship. They shared their entire history together, their history in the industry with the company, and all of the work bringing a ship like this to sea. Ascent is the newest celebrity ship. It was announced years before that 2 captains with over 50 years experience would captain her. The hour-and-a-half presentation in the theater included a rare and very personal look into how events had played out, how one brother's journey as a ship captain inspired the other to follow. The naming ceremony, all of the technical visits, the sea trial, the inspections, selecting the 1,400 crew, signing over the keys to a $1.2 billion machine, and of course its maiden transatlantic voyage. It seemed pretty clear that when the Excel launches in 2025, the Ascent will finally have a single captain, but for now it's quite funny to hear them both over the intercom. They have a great sibling chemistry, leadership, and a love for the Ascent. Last day arriving in Fort Lauderdale, and our bags have to be tagged and they have to be in the hall by 10:30 the night before. Our flight home wasn't supposed to be till 1600 that day. As it turns out, that sucked. Like cancellations and delays, you know. I'm going to make a movie just about that whole thing. And we finally landed in Ottawa like 48 hours later. Like I said, complete shit show. But this was our first cruise, and it definitely will not be our last. It was so very hard to have a bad time the entire time. The staff, the ship, the activities, the atmosphere is all designed to make things go very, very well and keep you very happy. And this explains why there was no content for 2 weeks. I hope you can forgive me, and I hope that you enjoyed the video. Comment in the comments with your comments about your cruises, or if you have any questions about the cruise. Sail safe.